everybody! How is everyone doing today? Let me transition over because Jessie likes her transitions. Oh no! Wait, I'm hearing my own voice. Why am I hearing my own voice? Where is that voice coming from? One second, oh, that's why, because I have a bubble up. I'm like, why am I hearing my own voice talk? There we go. How is everyone doing today? I hope you're all doing well. Heart to you, everybody out there. Hello, Don Nicholas. Series does art. Moonflower Gal. Adrenaline Lewis. A dash dash. Good to see you. Cavi. B Parker. Mallory. Who said something? B Parker. B Parker. I just want to say, yeah, I'm sending an extra special heart to you because, yeah, this week has been. This year has. These past two. This life. Has been rough, but no, it's been a particularly rough week I think for all of us. I won't go into the specifics. We all know Tuesday was rough for me in particular. I think for all of us, yeah, it's been a rough week. So I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you're all taking care of yourself. I hope everyone's as safe as they possibly can be, and just remember to, like, take care of yourself mentally, considering everything that we're currently going through. So just heart to everybody out there who may be going through some stuff, because I think we all are. I would be lying if I would say that I'm 100% okay. I'm not 100% okay. So I just want everyone to know that I love you and I send you all love right now. But that being said, let us focus on, yes, Miss Wicked Wolf, that was kind of what I was alluding to about Texas. I don't want to get into specifics of it because honestly I'll probably cry more than I already did on Tuesday about it. So we won't get into specifics about it, but if anyone needs it, just know that you have my love and well wishes. But let us talk about positive things. One day at a time, Kitty, I agree with you. For those of you who are new to what this is, welcome. This is my chat stream where every week for about 1 hour, I just sort of talk with all of you about whatever all of you want to talk about. We can talk about any topics of conversation that you want to bring to your mind. If you want me to talk about Star Trek, I'll talk Star Trek. If you want me to talk politics, I'll talk politics. Let's try and keep it a little bit positive today because it's been kind of a rough week, but obviously I'll talk about, like, harder topics and things like that. I'm happy to do that. The only thing I will say is I already see some people. I give hearts if you do super chats. If you do super chats, I give you hearts. I send you extra love. I try to focus on the chat as well, just not just super chats, but I try to give extra focus to that. And also super chats are appreciated because this is my full-time job. They help pay the bills, but obviously no pressure and anything like that. But I do appreciate them. But beyond that, yes, did get Silas. I agree. We did get an underwing. I know spoilers for Star Trek Strange New Worlds here, by the way. I won't go into spoilers, but the underwater submarine Star Trek episode was so good. It felt very Balance of Terror or Wrath of Khan to me. I really, really loved it. Also, if anyone's seen Master and Commander, I love that movie so much, mostly because it's just a Star Trek episode on the high seas. Like, if you love, like, the episode that we got of Strange New Worlds this week, or Balance of Terror or Wrath of Khan for the, like, starship battles, then you will absolutely freaking love Master and Commander, a very underrated movie that I absolutely freaking adore. Like, go watch that movie. But yeah, it was a great episode this week. Without spoiling too much, wait until next week, because I loved this week's episode. I got a screener for next week's episode of Strange New Worlds, and I kind of adore next week's episode. Kind of a lot. It's a comedy episode, so it's less dark than this one. So next week's episode is a comedy episode, and I got to see this episode weeks ago, and I have been waiting. I have been, like, waiting for people to be able to see this episode. Like, I am so excited for you to see next week. It's gonna be great. But anyways, let me quick address some of the super chats here. Chloe, heart to you. Nice to see you. You said recovering from my second ingrown toenail surgery, both sides of my big toes. Well, I hope you're doing all right, Chloe. Well, speaking of surgery, well, first off, let me just make sure. I'm glad you're doing okay. I'm glad you're doing here. I know my mom had a lot of, like, foot surgeries herself, so I know how big of a pain that can be, especially since it's, like, hard to walk and things like that. So afterwards, if you can walk, so I hope you're taking care of yourself. Also, speaking of surgeries, this is me being self-interested in myself, so apologies. I'll make it about me for a hot second here. But as many of you know, I have my facial harmonization surgery coming up in less than 2 weeks at this point. So that's happening, and I had my call with my doctor this week where we went through, like, all of the stuff for surgery. So I'm less than 2 weeks away from getting my face off like Nicolas Cage, going from my John Travolta face. to my Nicolas Cage face. So pretty soon it'll be pretty fun. So I'm very excited about that. Tracy Dale, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. Mwah, my friend. You said, hi, Jesse. Happy to be here. Needed a break like this tonight. Well, I'm glad to be a break, my friend. Mwah, mwah. Sending you love, Tracy. And thank you for the super chat. Let's see. Wait, so I'm catching up. I know, right? It is very soon. My surgery is in just 2 it's like literally my surgery is next Tuesday. So, not this coming Tuesday, the Tuesday after next, June 7th. So very excited for that. So thank you for the kind words. And Sendu, I never know what to say to these incredibly... Sendu, heart to you. Thank you so much for that super chat. That's incredibly generous. I legitimately never know what to say to these. I really don't know what to say to these. That's incredibly Sendu. Ah! I always feel weird because it's like, thank you, and I'm embarrassed, and I don't feel like I can ever thank it. Like, Zendu, just thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you, my friend. And I'll leave it there. That is incredibly kind. Yeah, anyways, I just feel weird because I never know how to thank you enough for that. Anyways, I'll stop focusing on it. Zendu, thank you so much for that super chat. That's incredibly generous. Sorry, my brain's now in a weird spot. Face Off is hilarious. Yeah, that's, I'll be honest with all of you. You can see I'm kind of made up nice today. And that's because, sorry, my brain just kind of got, thrown for a loop there for a second. I'm made up nice today because I'm filming a video about my facial feminization surgery, and it required that I film some stuff before FFS. I'm filming some stuff with this face. And let's just say that there might have been a few face-off jokes. A few John Travolta jokes that might be in this FFS video that I'm doing. But it's a video that's, trying to talk about, my complicated feelings on FFS, about, why I wanted it, but how, there's just complicated feelings about it. So yeah, I think it'll be a fun video, but also a hard video. So we'll see how it all goes. Oh, Kaylee, heart to you. Thank you so much for your super chat. You said, pause name. I finally got my legal name updated at my DMV today, 817 days after initially filing for a name change with the court. I'm sorry it took you so long to get that through, but awesome. That is freaking awesome. I remember getting my name changed. It was such a pain in the ass. I think weirdly, the one that was difficult for me was less that, New York is that, because I was in New York at the time. New York is relatively easy to get your name changed in terms of on your supporting documents once you get the legal stuff changed. It was credit cards that were a pain in the ass. I kept getting credit card calls. I had credit cards at the time, and I kept getting calls 2 or 3 years after the fact. I mean, is this dead name? And I'm like, no, what? How do you have that name? I thought I changed that. It was weird. My biggest pain in the ass with the court name filing is you have to pay money. It's just frustrating that it just showcases stuff like that. Just showcases how trans people, especially people who are not economically privileged, to pay the bills. Why am I saying words weirdly? It showcases that when I submitted my name change, I had to pay $300 to be able to submit that court document, which at the time I was working at Starbucks, not even full-time. I worked 30 hours a day at Starbucks, or 30 hours a week at Starbucks. So I was barely able to pay and afford that, but I really wanted to do it. And it's just frustrating that you have to pay that much money to just get your name changed when it should just be something you're allowed to do. So I was really just messed up, but I'm glad that you got it through. And it again goes to how people who do not, I was trying to get at before, have a certain economic privilege to be able to pass that names, and how trans people who usually are disenfranchised and don't really have a lot of money for numerous different reasons, being discriminated against and stuff, often aren't able to do even more stuff, get surgeries, get their medical help, be able to even change the names because of it. So it's frustrating. So $800, Molly J. You had to pay $800. That's ridiculous. I had to pay just $300, which is a lot, especially for someone just working at Starbucks. But $800? That's ridiculous. But anyways, Kaylee, I'm sorry you had to pay that much, but Kaylee, congratulations on getting your name changed, my friend. Someone else said something that I wanted to quick address. You called on you. Oh, thank you very much. Just another broke nerd. It's good to see you, by the way. It was something that someone said that I wanted to quick address, or at least mention. What did I miss? Oh, am I nervous? That's what it was. Osiris asks. Yeah, I mean, I'm nervous. I mean, it's interesting. Sorry. I want to talk about my surgery now because it's kind of on my brain. I'm very excited about it. But yeah, no, I am nervous. I've had 2 transition related surgeries already. I had a vaginoplasty, which was like the big one, and then I had breast augmentation to get the boobs. So both of those, and I was nervous for both of them. I mean, surgery is scary, because it's like you could theoretically die, but statistically, like if you look at the statistics, you're actually more likely to die driving to the hospital, like getting in a crash on the way to the hospital, than you are likely to die from the surgery. So I'm sure there's like some way that statistic isn't 100% true, but like that looking at it just from my base like understanding of statistics, that's actually the case. So I'm excited about that. Oh, Taos, I'll quick address super chat in just a second. But yeah, so I am nervous about it, but I'm less nervous than I was before, in terms of just dealing with it. Though I am weirdly slightly more nervous for just recovery on this one. I mean, obviously vaginoplasty was like the worst one in terms of recovery because it was literally my junk that was getting worked on. But that one I had such like, that was my first surgery and everything. But here's like, this is my face being worked on. And so it's just like, there's just a lot of the rules that they have, like, I did a conversation with my doctor, and there's like a lot of stuff that they talk about, like you can't be in the sun for certain amount of times. I have to wear like this head wrap for weeks, for like the first few weeks to like hold my face together. The way I know this isn't true, but the way they made it feel like my face was gonna like fall off if I didn't wear the damn head wrap, which was like, okay. So yeah, there's just a lot more, like, of all of my surgeries, this is the one that has like weirdly the most like specific post care. Like vaginoplasty was like, don't have sex and do the dilator, was like the big deal with that, and just like stay off of it. Breast augmentation was just like, you have boobs now, just take care of yourself. And then, but this is the one that has like a lot of stuff going on with the face. So yeah, I'm nervous about it, but less so about the surgery, more just like, oh crap, am I going to be able to do all the post care correctly? But yeah. Let's see. Taos, heart to you. Thank you so much for the super chat. You said, been on HRT for 3 months. Congratulations. And really starting to be happy with my body. I got home today and saw myself in the mirror and just smiled. That's wonderful. I remember that feeling. Hopefully I'm saying your name right, Taos, like the New Mexico City. I remember that like really well. Like how best to describe this? I didn't like looking in the mirror for the longest time for numerous different reasons. Like I didn't like my weight. I didn't like my body for like gender reasons and things like that. But then I remember there was just a day after, like, I think it was about like 4 or 5 months being on hormones, maybe 6 months, where I stepped out of the shower one day, and I normally just looked down, so I didn't want to like look at myself in the mirror. It was just sort of like like it wasn't something I thought of. It was just an intrinsic habit. Like I don't want to see myself naked. It's gross. And then I caught myself in the mirror, and I just like stopped for a second. I just like looked and just studied myself, and I'm like, huh, I haven't really looked at my face. Like it's changed a bunch. And looked at my body. I'm like, oh, I'm starting to see someone that I like here physically. And it's just like a really nice feeling. It's a really humanizing feeling in a lot of different ways. So I'm so glad, Taos, that you're starting to feel that, because I remember I still vividly remember that moment, for me, and it's a really nice one. So I'm glad you're experiencing that, Taos. Mwah. Heart to you, my friend. David, heart to you. You said, a series about a young Captain Picard captaining the USS Stargazer, yay or nay? Funny you should mention that. This is me where Jessie's gonna be the giant Star Trek nerd here. They actually just announced, like literally this week, that they're gonna do a comic book series set between Star Trek Picard seasons 2 and 3, with Picard as the captain of the Stargazer that we saw in Star Trek Picard season 2. So if you're looking for more Stargazer stuff with Picard, hell yes. I would also love a young Stargazer Picard series. They had a novel series, I think written by who wrote that? I forget who wrote the novel. There was a novel series about the Stargazer. I forget who predominantly wrote it off the top of my head. But those were really, really good, and I would love to see that. That would be a really fun series. Honest to God, if I'm being honest with you, I've talked about Star Trek Picard, and I did my whole review on it. We won't get into it. But I'm not someone who's been in love with Star Trek Picard. It's probably my least favorite Star Trek show overall, and that's not knocking. If you love Star Trek Picard, that's great too. And there's elements of it that I love as well. so I'm not hating on it. But it's probably my least favorite of the Star Trek shows, mostly because I have more hopes for it than any. Like, that was the one that I had the most hopes for, and it frustrates me at times. Anyways, the one thing that I do like about Star Trek Picard is actually the ancillary media, like the audio drama they did, the novels that they've done for Star Trek Picard, and now this comic book series that they have coming out. Honestly, have been my favorite parts of Star Trek Picard. Like, if you're frustrated by Star Trek Picard but like some of the ideas in it, you should go read Una McCormack's Last Best Hope. It's a Star Trek Picard novel that's a prequel to Star Trek Picard Season 1, and honestly, might be one of my favorite Star Trek novels, period. It is fan-freaking-tastic and does everything that I want like a Star Trek novel to do in terms of like the politics and like dealing with like all this different stuff within Picard. So like, if you are looking for a great Star Trek Picard book, go read Una McCormack's Last Best Hope. Fantastic. So excited for that comic book series. So thank you, David. I know that wasn't your question, but it was just weird that you happened to reference that because I'm very excited for this upcoming comic book series. Let's see. Apologies if I say your name wrong, but Uchinamu, I probably am terribly butchering that, but heart to you, my friend. You just said, the latest Strange New Worlds episode was the best Starship Battle episode since Balance of Terror. Probably. I mean, Balance of Terror is my favorite Star Trek The Original Series episode, so it's hard to top that one. I love Balance of Terror so much, specifically because it utilizes, like space well. As much as I love Discovery, like, do not get me wrong, I love Star Trek Discovery. But one problem that I have with it is that its space battles are just like, look at all these nonsense things shooting at each other. Oh, there's a ship over here, shooty, shooty, shooty. You saw that a lot in Such Sweet Sorrow, the season 2 finale of Discovery, was probably the most egregious example of that. But this episode, again, without getting into specific spoilers for it, this episode utilized space and like the tactics of being in space to a really great degree. And also, I don't even want to put this on Discovery too, because Voyager had that problem as well, whereas sometimes just we're shooting at each other, we're shooting back, honest to God, even Next Generation had that problem. I think Deep Space Nine, the original series, I think are the only Star Trek shows that like really did space battles well. Next Generation, Voyager, and Enterprise to a degree, and Discovery all had the same like, we're just gonna shoot at each other sort of stuff. So I love this episode of Strange New Worlds specifically for that. They did it really well. I agree. Let's see. Oh, yes, the Andor trailer. Yes, the Andor, which also, speaking of which, I know we were talking Star Trek. The Obi-Wan premieres tonight. We're gonna get my boy Ian McGregor's gonna be back with his beard, getting all Alec Guinnessy. I'm very excited for this Obi-Wan show tonight. Like, we're getting Ian McGregor back, and hopefully a better Star Wars story than he got in the like. I have a particular affinity for the prequels, but I would love to see Ian McGregor get another chance at Obi-Wan and like really nail it. And this show looks like they're also giving me the Inquisitors. I love the Inquisitors. They're so good in Rebels and Jedi Fallen Order. So getting to see them in live action is going to be pretty cool. So I am very excited for Obi-Wan. But yeah, I saw the Andor trailer too, and that looks really good too. I mean, it's just a teaser, but just tonally was really cool. Like, they really nailed the darkness living under the Empire at that time. I'm really hoping we get to see more like post what was it, the last Rise of Skywalker? That's what it was. I even forgot the movie. I hope we get to see more post Rise of Skywalker, because being stuck in this like Empire / directly after the Empire era, it's nice to see how that stuff fleshed out, but I would have much rather like see like the series move forward. So I'm excited for Andor. I'm excited for Obi-Wan, but I hope we start to get to see more of that stuff like post Rise of Skywalker at some point in the near future. We'll see though. Molly J, I unironically love the prequels too. I have a lot of criticisms of them, but I still love them. Also, I'm missing a few super chats. So let me just quick get to those. The Molly J, hard to you. You said, as long as you're doing positive stuff, my second book, yes, you mentioned this last time. Mail Order Bride came out this week. LGBTQ poly sci-fi romance with a WLW. I don't know what that one means. I don't know what that abbreviation means off the top of my head. And 2 agendered characters. I'm incredibly excited. Well, Molly J, congratulations. I will, if I could say words good. Congratulations on getting that book out. I am so happy for you. One day, hopefully I'll get to where you're at and get to publish a book. That would be a dream of mine. So congratulations. You're freaking awesome. Molly J, you're kicking butt. John Vinnels, hard to you, my friend. You said, why am I imagining you as girl boss Freddy Krueger during the immediate after? I love that. I was like, girl boss Freddy Krueger. I'm like trying to imagine what that would be. Just like my face just all mangled. I'm like, rah, I'll get you. You, I don't even want to say, but I've that's actually a franchise. I was about to like make a joke, but I can't think of like any specific Freddy Krueger lines just because I've only ever seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and I know, was it the third one that's supposed to be really good? I think it's like what, Dream Warriors or whatever. I've only ever seen the first ever Nightmare on Elm Street. And I know two is the gay one, like has all the gay subtext. And then third is like the one that everyone loves because it has like the meta comment, like Scream-esque series meta commentary. But I haven't seen them. Women loving women. Oh, I didn't know that. Got it, Molly J. So I did not know that. Women loving women. Good. Okay, that's good. I did not know that abbreviation for some reason. So, let's see. Jasper Jedi, heart to you, my friend. You said, just finished episode 4 of Strange New Worlds and first time catching a live. Well, welcome, Jasper Jedi. Mwah, heart to you, my friend. So, hi, love your insights into tracking your positive attitude to it in general. Well, yay, I'm glad. Like I said, I always try to be constructive, even when there's things that, I mean, generally I've liked all of modern Star Trek. Like, I love Discovery. I love Strange New Worlds. I love Lower Decks, love Prodigy. I'm more conflicted on Picard out of any of them. But even then, I want to try and be positive and constructive. Like, Star Trek is always about, like, building up community and building up conversations. And, like, it's not about tearing stuff down. I'm so tired, especially after the conversation that happened with Star Trek Picard Season 2. I am honestly so tired of people just constantly, like, just going out and hating stuff. And I'm not saying that you can't dislike something or you can't talk negatively about something. Obviously you can't. But there's just this, like, schadenfreude on YouTube, especially, of like people just wanting to tear down stuff because it does well in the algorithm. Like, I even encountered today, I was on YouTube and I was just looking at and a video popped up in my recommendations of this channel that was just like popping up a bunch of like, new Star Trek sucks, and it's just like, and those are the videos that did really well, and it's just clear that they're like following that train because it does well in the algorithm, because generating anger and vitriol and hate does well. And honestly, also YouTube as well is just kind of unfortunately a site that like kind of trades in that. Not to say that there isn't positivity to be found here and good things to be found on YouTube. Obviously there is, but it's a site that like sort of generates and garners a lot of that like negative backlash at things. It's also a very conservative site in general too, which is also sad. Again, not to say that there aren't pockets of better stuff, but it's just what the most popular stuff that gets fed in the algorithm. So anyways, it just kind of saddens me to see that stuff doing well. And so I always just want to try and like create a space that's positive and constructive and tries to look to the good in things, even if it's stuff I dislike, you know? Didn't love Star Trek Picard Season 2, but the things that I like about it. And I even think, even in the negativity, there's ways that we can talk constructively about the things that I think personally it failed at, and you may disagree. So, yeah. People saying the stream, I can turn up the stream a little bit if it's kind of quiet for people. Chloe, heart to you. Thank you so much. The 7th movie has the meta commentary. Seventh movie? Okay. Totally missed. I need to watch the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. I know that they're good. Mitchell, I can answer that question in a second, but I also want to say, Sarah, heart to you. CinemaSins type criticism. Yeah, I hate the like CinemaSins ding. Like, I hate that sort of criticism of media. It always frustrates me. But also, Sarah, I just wanted to say, I saw your video earlier today about Our Flag Means Death. Yes, for some reason. Our Flag Means Death, and your talk about Taika Waititi and the sort of anti-fat narrative that's, at least in the trailer for Thor Love and Thunder. And I just want to say, like, heart to you, because I could see that was, like, really frustrating and hard for you to make. And I'm sorry that's the case. So, yeah, I totally understand you. And everyone should go and watch Sarah, who runs the Costume Codex channel. She just did a really good video. She was going to do a video about Our Flag Means Death, but she's also someone who talks really well and very articulately and very thoughtfully about anti-fatness and, like, being body positive in our world today. And she had some really important things to say about how Taika Waititi might possibly be doing a really harmful narrative in the upcoming Thor Love and Thunder. At least we see it in the trailer, and it probably will be in the movie. We'll see if that pans out, but quite possibly. And I think Sarah had some really wonderful things to say about that, so I highly recommend Sarah's video. I think she articulated it very well. I'm very much looking forward to that movie myself, but I also know, as someone who has also struggled with body image stuff, and some of the things that Sarah talked about, it is a harmful narrative to talk about, like, fatness and things like that in that way. It's not something, again, I keep wanting to talk about my relationship to my body in that way, but it's not something that I'm prepared for at the moment. But anyways, I really appreciated Sarah's words on it. So, I'll just leave it there, but I'll highly recommend her video. But let's see. Mitchell asked, are there any good audio Trek books? So Trek audiobooks. There are a few. It depends on what you want. There are some older Star Trek audiobooks that are really good. I particularly like the William Shatner ones are bonkers. Like, if you ever listen to the William Shatner novels, they are bonkers weird in, like, kind of the best way. They very much are like William Shatner's id played out in Star Trek form. And the audiobooks are really good. The oldest Star Trek audiobooks I really love because they did a lot of, like, sound effects stuff. So they added music and, like, Star Trek sound effects to it to make it sound like an audio drama, even if it was just a narrator telling a story. The only problem with them is that they are abridged versions, so you don't get the full story. Like, each audiobook is, because they were released on cassette tapes, they're only 3 hours, when probably the books themselves would probably be more like 5 or 6 hours, so a bit frustrating in that sense. But I'd highly recommend all of those. Also, every new Star Trek audiobook, every book Star Trek is releasing now is getting an audiobook release. So the past, like, 3 or 4 years of Star Trek books have been released on audio, and I'd recommend, like, the Coda series, Last Best Hope by Una McCormick, which I mentioned earlier, Dark Veil, which is another Star Trek one, is great. I'm trying to think if there's any other. There's the Deep Space Nine one, Revenant. Revenant is great. It's the first Star Trek book written by an out non-binary writer, and it's about Jadzia Dax, my girl Jadzia. So if you're looking for a good Deep Space Nine novel, I would highly recommend, I think it's Revenant. I believe it's Revenant, by Alex White. Really good audiobook. So those I recommend as well. King Dom says, so sick of the gone woke nonsense from people with literally zero media literacy. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, we don't need to get into this whole conversation, but that's honestly the problem. Is like, we don't teach people how to be media literate today. Like, things like English classes are often defunded, and we don't really ever have, like, film courses in America. And because we devalue, like, oh, it's just popular culture, it's just books, it's whatever. But, like, being able to criticize and understand and, like, really dig down into stories and media and things like that, because we don't actually teach that, means that a lot of people can, number one, take advantage of that and push their own narratives. Like, you see people like, oh, Star Trek is so woke. I mean, Star Trek is woke. Star Trek is a very woke series, but they'll, like, push it and, like, miss, like, very obvious things. Like, I think a few weeks ago, like a week or so ago, I did that video where, like, Fox News is complaining about wokeness in Star Trek, right? And I get so many comments on that video of people saying that, like, you don't understand wokeness. Like, wokeness is just about being shallow. Like, Star Trek today is just these shallow things. They're just putting representation on the screen. And it's just, like, it's so forced. With number one, me being like, honestly, I watch Star Trek today, and I watch Discovery, and I see moments where, like, the diversity and, like, showcasing people's culture, and I see it really authentically and not, like, forced at all. It's just people, like, being themselves, existing. I think Discovery does that. It's one of the things I love about Discovery, is that it doesn't feel forced. It feels very natural in a lot of ways, especially in most recent seasons. But also, people just sort of, like, see that surface level as, like, look, there's the trans in it. And so that's all they take away from it is its messages. And they forget that things like Forget Me Not. There's an episode in season 3 of Star Trek Discovery that I absolutely love, and it's called Forget Me Not. And yes, it does play around with the bury your gaze trope that I dislike a little bit. But if you go back and watch that episode of Forget Me Not, what I love about it is it actually evokes a queer sensibility in really subtle ways, to the point where, spoilers for that episode, a queer character dies in that episode. Don't worry, they come back. So it gets brought back. They get brought back. But a queer character dies in it, and they get wrapped in a quilt. And that quilt is meant to clearly evoke the AIDS quilt project that was done after the AIDS epidemic, to showcase and highlight all the people that died during the HIV epidemic, the AIDS epidemic, that really, like, specifically targeted the gay community, and was sort of like gay people were left to just die during that. And it's a really beautiful episode that really, like, highlights all of these themes and queer themes, but they're also, like, not in your face about it. And it's very well written in my estimation. That whole episode is, I think. And people who don't have any media literacy don't recognize that, and they'll just, like, say, like, oh, this Star Trek is so woke, and beat you over the head with its messages, because they don't have any media literacy to read the subtlety. And so they'll point at, like, older Star Trek and be like, look at how subtle older Star Trek was. You know, the show with the black on one face and white on the other, and literally talking about racism. They're like, look, it wasn't woke. It was, like, subtle storytelling. They just let you figure it out. And I'm like, I don't think you know what subtle means, my friend. And so it's people not having that media literacy to analyze these things. And then that get taken advantage of by like different groups, like right-wing groups like Fox News and things like that, for their own ends to sort of like shove in this like woke agenda, which like woke is anything that they want it to mean that day. It's a Tuesday, woke means trans people today. Oh, woke, it means people complaining about racial issues today. Like whoever they want it to be to create their us versus them narrative, right? That's all it is. They want to create an us versus them narrative, so they'll make something very nebulous and take advantage of people's lack of being able to be media literate to push their own agendas without being able to actually articulate what the actual problem is. So it's very, very frustrating. So yeah, that's. Thank you for allowing me that rant. But I missed a few super chats. Let me quick get in there. Also Victor says I actually enjoy the Shatnerverse. I love the Shatnerverse books too. They're hilarious. They're like actually kind of fun. They're actually kind of fun, like Kirk and Picard teaming up, even though it's always weighted to Kirk being the hero over Picard because William Shatner's writing them. But they're a lot of fun. The Shadowverse books are pulpy Star Trek nonsense, but they're fun pulpy Star Trek nonsense. Mallory, hard to you, said, just wanted to say I started watching Next Generation with my dad last week. Yay, that's awesome. Never had any interest in it until watching your channel. Came for the political discourse, left with Star Trek. Well, Mallory, if I may, let me hawk my wares a little bit. I will announce to all of you, I have officially finished my section. I'm waiting on one part from one contributor, but I have completed all my parts for Section Star Trek Part 2. And it is the runtime. It'll be a little bit longer than this because, like I said, I'm still waiting on one more part. The runtime, I'm sorry, 5 hours and 16 minutes. There's a dance number. I literally added a dance number. It's going to be a big video, and it's going to be all about Section Star Trek The Next Generation. So, Mallory, if you like Next Generation, you're going to have way too much from me. So that's coming. That'll be coming in June. So I'm excited for that. I'm honestly really proud of this video. It is not just like me talking at a camera for 5 hours. There's like, it's 5 hours of stuff. Like there's a whole, there is a dance number in it. I swear to you. So get excited about that. So yeah, I'm very glad that I got you into Next Generation and just in time too. Amelia, heart to you, my friend. Excited for Disco Season 5. I heard they're switching up the storytelling for the season. I'm intrigued. Also, if we don't get Gray back, I will cry. You're gonna get Gray back. I would be shocked if we didn't see Gray back. I don't know Ian Alexander well, but we've talked a bunch at like different cons and things, and I did an interview with him, and he's absolutely fantastic. And I would be shocked if he doesn't come back, if they don't have him come back for Season 5. I'm very excited for Disco. Like I said, I think Disco is not always perfect. I think like there's a lot of flaws you could name with Disco, but there's a lot that I really love about that show as well. Namely, just how well it sort of evokes that infinite diversity and infinite combinations very subtly, not just in your face with who's in the show, but how it really evokes these people and cultures just naturally. It's just very, very, very well done. I really adore Disco. I know people hate on it, especially because everyone's going, it's woke, but I love Discovery. It's not perfect. It is far from a perfect show. I have many criticisms of it that I have articulated in all of my videos, but I do really love it. I have a very soft spot for Discovery in my heart. John Vittles, heart to you. You said, stupidest form of media criticism ever. It's a Space Wizard, a movie for kids, so it doesn't need to make sense or have complex themes. Yeah, talking about Star Wars. Like, Star Wars has many complicated themes. I mean, Star Wars is one of the least subtle shows of all time, or movies of all time. It's literally about fascism, right? It's about Space Wizards, but it's about Viet Cong. Like George Lucas himself talked about how Star Wars was about the Viet Cong, and it's literally about an anti-fascist series of movies. That's what they're about. And sadly, and like the prequels, for all of their flaws, are about the rise of fascism, like how fascism starts, not with thunderous applause, not with what's the line? This is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause. Really great line. Like, say what you want about the prequels, but there is some good critique and criticism there. It's definitely political. Andrew Clegg, hard to you. You said your shirt intrigues me. Would you model, please? Yes, I love this shirt. I forget where I got it, but it's just like, you can't even really tell on this camera because it kind of gets washed out in the blue. But I love this shirt. It's got like a little wrapper on at the bottom here, and then it's just like this like kind of flowy blue. It's like an aqua blue look to it. So again, you can't really tell for the camera, but it's like got this aqua blue, but then it also has these like dashes of black in it as well, like feathers almost. It looks like kind of like a feathery design. I love this shirt. It's very pretty. It's like I'm kind of like, it's like very like watery. It feels like water. It looks like water. I love this shirt. It's one of my favorites. So thank you, Andrew. Sarvis, heart to you. Thank you so much, my friend. You said Star Trek audiobooks sound like the Star Wars audiobooks where they have music in SFX. Same with the older books being abridged. Only now some are Legends novels getting unabridged versions. Yeah, I agree. The difference between the Star Trek ones of old and the Star Wars ones, though, this old Star Wars ones were also abridged and also had sound effects, and the Star Trek ones were just the same way. Today, though, Star Trek audiobooks don't have the sound effects, but they are unabridged, thankfully. But Star Wars audiobooks still sometimes have a lot of the audio like music and sound effects and treatment. I wish Star Trek would do that, but I get it. Star Wars books probably sell way better than Star Trek books, so they have more money to invest in them. I'm just glad that we're getting Star Trek audiobooks at all, because I don't really have a lot of time to read every single Star Trek novel on paper because I'm busy all the time, but I do have enough time to listen while I'm doing other stuff. So I'm glad that we're getting Star Trek audiobooks at all, so I'm not going to complain at all. Heart to you, Geekfielder. You said, I came in at the end for the rant. Hope all is well. Hugs, my friend. Heart to you, Geekfielder. I'm so sorry. We need to catch up, Geekfielder, at some point soon. So heart to you, my friend. Mwah. Glad to see you. I'm glad you're here. I did make an epic. People are talking. Sorry, I'm just catching up on some of the chats here. I did make a really long. It's 5 hours. I made a 5-hour video about sex in Star Trek, and it's only about one show. I have at least three more parts planned. I'm a weirdo. Why do you let me exist? I'm very strange. So apologies. Sam JB, you said, I know times are really tough for our super special transgender friends. I just wanted you to know that you have many allies in the community who love you. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. I won't get into details, but it has been rough for me. It has been rough for me as a trans person. How do I talk about this? I just wish to say, being entirely honest, it has been very depressing these past 2 weeks for me. Just being a person existing in trans space. I'll be quite honest with you. One thing that I've been really wrestling with lately. Sorry, this is going off on a track, but I it's just something that's been on my mind, and Sam just sort of hit it in my head. And I just want to be honest about it because it's just something I've been thinking about. I've been just really upset about how much the horrific treatment of trans people in our society today just makes me see the world negatively right now. As many of you know that I am someone who always tries to have that optimistic view of the future. Like Star Trek, why I love Star Trek so much is because it is a show that gave me that certainty that humanity will be better, that we will always end up pursuing the best parts of ourselves. And I know that sometimes means that we have to go through dark times to get to the good times. It's not always good times all the time. But some of you know that I'm on Twitter a bunch, and I try to always share kind things on Twitter. Here on YouTube, I always make sure my videos are positive, but I just noticed a trend where I'm on Twitter sometimes where I'm just tweeting about really horrific stuff. And it makes me sad that that's how I interact with the world a lot now because of how horrific people have been treated. And I say that all from an incredible place of privilege. I know that I am a trans person. I am currently got something positive to look for. I have my FFS, and my insurance is paying for a predominant part of it. And then you all are helping pay for the rest of it. So I appreciate you on that front. So again, that's a place of privilege. And I just know that as much as I am hurting just seeing this, I know there are people who have to live in places like Texas or Ohio or other places where trans people are being actively more intensely vilified. I mean, I am even getting it I've gotten harassed for being trans just existing out here in Seattle, and that sucks. And Seattle's a very generally positive place for trans people. So it's just rough. And as someone who always tries to look at the world with a positive lens and a positive light, and thank you, by the way, I see a bunch of hearts in the chat, so thank you for that. It really tears my heart apart. And that's not even touching upon all the other difficult stuff. Again, with stuff in Texas and Buffalo, I won't get into the heart of it. And I mean, obviously, the stuff with Buffalo is not about my community. It's definitely, that whole attack in Buffalo is about targeting black people and the black community. and my heart goes out to everyone affected by that and the Black community in general. But it also was just scary for me personally because I'm from Buffalo, and my family, my brother, my sister, quite literally lived down the street from that Tops. Like, they live there now. Again, that I don't mean to make it about myself or my family, because that attack was very targeted against the Black community, but it still was scary. And it's just hard. So, anyways, yeah. It's rough. So thank you for allowing me that moment to talk about it, but I know we're all feeling it. I just joined my company's health and safety community, so I want to be an ally and advocate for LGBTQ neurodivergent minorities to stand with you. Thank you, Adam. Adam, you're lovely. Yeah, it's rough. And it also even sucks too more for, not more. It sucks how it always comes back on trans people too, because like the shooter in Texas got blamed on it. Like someone said, oh, it's a trans person that did it, when it wasn't. It was like a far right group that like said like, oh, a trans person was the one that committed that act in Texas. And just people uncritically shoving it out there. Like, I think even Fox News put it out there as well. And it's like, yep, because of course trans people always get blamed for this stuff. Sucks. That being said, I just want to reorient a little bit. I know that what I just said was hard, and it is hard, and I am feeling that. I'm sure all of you are feeling that, and I know a lot of you are feeling it worse. But just know that there is positivity. Like right now, all of you sharing love and being kind and caring about each other. There is love. And there is kindness, and there are things to be happy about. And while the world may look dark and bleak at the moment, human community will always shine through. It's why I do believe in Star Trek, right? Because while people in power may be failing us, they are ultimately, while they are in power, they are a minority of human beings. And I believe truly that while we may not always have the power individually, collectively, I think we have the power, but individually we may not seem like we have the power, but as groups of people, as community of people coming together, we are beautiful and amazing and wonderful, and we are stronger together, and there is so much beauty to find in that. So never forget that. Anyways, let me quick catch up on Super Chats. But thank you, Sam. I love you. You are lovely, and thank you so much for your Super Chat and for instigating that conversation. Chloe, you said started dating again and got her into Lower Decks in this channel. Hell yeah! I am here for your dating life. Next, you'll have to get me into Our Flag Means Death. Good. Our Flag Means Death is great. I love Our Flag Means Death. It's a great show. I understand criticism of Taika Waititi because, again, I shout out Costume Codex, my friend Sarah, for her criticisms of Taika and some of his narratives in Thor: Love and Thunder. But overall, I love Taika. I love Our Flag Means Death. I think it's a great show, and hell yes, you should watch it. Also, John Vinnels, heart to you. You said, person. Well, at least David Cronenberg knows how to make nice, simple Corey B. Musani Force Bullet. Oh god, I am so excited for that. Speaking of Star Trek Discovery, because David Cronenberg's in that. I'm very excited for David Cronenberg's new movie. I forget the name of it, but I want to go and see it soon, because it's getting a lot of stuff. Like, people are literally getting up and walking out of it. I'm like, ooh, that sounds like I love it when people get angry at movies, because I'm like, ooh, that means it's interesting. Whether or not I like it or not, I'll find it interesting, and I always love media that gives us that. And knowing David Cronenberg and the fact that he's on Discovery and just who he is and always has been in general, I'm fairly sure I'm going to love it. So very excited about that. Catherine Lambeth, heart to you. It's good to see you, my friend. And said, my company launched our first satellite this week. Hell yes! Yes, Catherine is a wonderful human being who I know from my Patreon, and we talk a little bit. And just got a new job and launched a freaking satellite because you're a scientist being all smart and such. So congratulations, Catherine. That's awesome. It's good to see you. Mwah. Jimmy Vinnels, hard to you. You said Jimmy Vinnels. Sorry, Jimmy Nails. Excuse me. Had a hard week. Happened on your Sense8 video. Cried. You are a treasure to me. A person you don't know. I hope that helps. You're from Buffalo. That tracks all the kindest people I know are. Well, thank you. I love Buffalo. There's many problems with Buffalo, but I do love Buffalo and a lot of people that I know from there. And thank you. Yeah, for you're mentioning the Sense8 video. People who might not have heard it, that's the Sense8 video that was on. Gave it to Patreon. It's out on Nebula, but I'm waiting on. It's a video that actually Sarah, who was in the chat, instigated me on. It's a video about hope and like a piece of media that I find hope in, and I chose Sense8. And it will be coming out on this channel soon. It's just currently going, like, it got copyright claimed, and I've disputed the claim, but unfortunately I have to wait like 30 days for the claim to go through. So that video will be out in the next like week or two. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, Jimmy. I love you and adore you, and you're absolutely lovely. And thank you for being here, and thank you for being you, and thank you for being amazing. Well, excuse me. Ooh, Needed to burp. That was a weird moment because I gave the kiss and then I realized like, oh shoot, I need to burp, and I wanted to like be a moment, but then I realized I needed to burp, so it just got weird. And now I'm talking about it, so it's even weirder. So excuse me. Okay, let's catch up. Aw, Kaylee, you're nerdy and awkward. I love you. Mwah, you're lovely. I appreciate you, you lovely, lovely human. Thank you, Kaylee. Cyberquaker, good to see you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Good to see you, my friend. You were so great on the Red Planet fundraiser. I hope I see you hang out with Kira, Aronak, and others again soon. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I think the video should be up at some point over on Kira Chat's YouTube page. But I was on the Red Planet fundraiser. The Red Planet did a phenomenal 3-day live stream raising a bunch of money for a bunch of different trans charities. Speaking of collective power, right? And I was honored enough to be asked to be on for, I think I was on for about 2 hours of the like 72-hour stream. But we had so many really wonderful conversations with everybody that was on there. I also got to tell Ian of who did the Right Wing Playbook series, a fantastic series that you should check out. Innuendo Studios, he's also known here as on YouTube. You should check out that series, very good. But I also got to tell Ian, who runs that channel, to his face, quote unquote, it was digital, but how much his work meant to me and to a lot of people. So that was a highlight for me. But yeah, that whole stream was absolutely wonderful. I popped in and out of it in terms of watching it, and it was a really great fundraiser. So yeah, I was honored to take part in it. I would love to be on there again and talk again because that was a really great conversation. Let's see. Heart to you, Captain Omni. You said, first day I go by they, them now. Congratulations, that's awesome. And Bezos is dumb for ditching doing a Conan show for Amazon because it's not a franchise really compared to Lord of the Rings. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, Conan I feel like could be. I still need to watch that. Chloe, apologies, I haven't seen it. But I will watch it, I promise you. But yeah, no, I think Conan could probably be a series. I mean, anything could be a series. It just depends. But yeah, people make their own choices about what franchises, and sometimes it's ridiculous, sometimes it's dumb. Who knows? I am excited, though, for the Lord of the Rings series, to be fairly honest with you. A lot of people saying they're more excited for the Game of Thrones series, the prequel Game of Thrones show, the Dragon show. I forget what, the House of the Dragon or something like that. I'm actually more excited for the Lord of the Rings series, but then again, I'm biased because I literally have a Lord of the Rings tattoo. So I like Game of Thrones, the ending of Game of Thrones notwithstanding, and I am excited for that show. Plus, more Matt Smith is never a bad thing. But I am more excited for the Lord of the Rings show. I'm hopeful for that show. We'll see if that actually pays off, but I am hopeful for it. So. Oh, heart to you, the Molly J. You said, today's Strange New Worlds reminded me of DS9 Starship Down. Yeah, that's another good reference. That was a good one. I like Starship Down. That was a good, I think, early season 4 episode of Deep Space Nine. Got to have some good Jessie Bashir moments and good Worf moments, too. Yeah, good episode. I remember that one. Heart to you. You said, just to be clear, even I can tell you David Cronenberg's movies has strong themes and intensely critical of mainstream. Oh yeah, of course. That's all of Cronenberg's movies, John. Like, all of them are that. Love, Amir says, love how women are written in Strange New Worlds. Yeah, me too. One thing I'm hoping, and I mean, just there's a lot of queer aesthetic in the show, but one thing I love about Strange New Worlds is, yeah, they write women really well. Uhura's great. Freaking Nurse Chapel continues to be my favorite freaking character. I am so shocked that they managed to take a character that I never gave a crap about from the original series and make her my favorite freaking character show. Never would have guessed that. Love Nurse Chapel. But Una's great. Laan is great. Ortegas, who hasn't really been centered at all, but like Ortegas is great too. And I do really I hope that they this is just a side thing for me, is that I do really hope that they reveal that one of the characters is queer on the show. They haven't officially like shown that any characters are LGBTQ in any sense. They have a lot of like Ortegas definitely gives me like all the queer vibes. But I do hope they make that for sure at some point on the show. But I really adore that. Also, someone pointed out, like, outside of Spock, yeah, I think outside of Spock, the entire bridge crew is women. Spock and Pike, sorry, I should say. Outside of Spock and Pike, the entire bridge crew is women, which, hell yeah, kick butt. That's freaking amazing. Okay, heart to you, sending you all the hearts, my friend. Mwah. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the super chat. Mwah, mwah, mwah. You're lovely. Are you gonna go see Top Gun Maverick? Yes. Not immediately. Probably maybe Sunday. We'll see how it shakes out. But probably I will go and see Top Gun Maverick Sunday as my current plan, Sinister Intelligence. I'm excited for it. It seems like a fun summer movie. I doubt I'll have like strong feelings on it, but I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I like the original Top Gun. So yeah, and people are saying it's really good, so I'm excited. I'm also gonna see Bob's Burgers, the movie, as well, so I'm excited for that too. So yeah. Logan Mansion Gaming. Do you know any good games where you kill Nazis? I mean, like good games? Because I was gonna say like the Call of Duty games, but debatably whether they're good. I dislike some of the militarism of those games. I mean the best killing Nazi games, Wolfenstein. Like the new ones are great, and I love the story of the new ones. Like those are really, really, really great. Really, really, really great games. If you haven't played all the Wolfensteins, are generally good, but especially the new ones. Not the newest one. There was like one where it was like BJ Blazkowicz's daughters were centered. I didn't like that one, but the other two were really good. I'd highly recommend them. Fun fact, Doctor Who has had at least one crossover comic with Star Trek, which is probably the closest Trek has ever gotten crossing over with Battlestar Galactica. The Doctor Who crossover is great. If you have not read the Star Trek Doctor Who crossover, it's great. Also, there's some weird crossovers that Star Trek has had in the comics. Like, one of the weirdest is there is actually a crossover comic where it's zombies invade the universes of Star Trek, Transformers, Ghostbusters, and I forget what the last one was. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, maybe? I forget the last one. It's definitely Ghostbusters, Transformers, Star Trek, and I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I don't remember. But it's a crossover between those four franchises, and it's like zombies invade those universes. It's weird. It's a weird crossover. And they've also had other ones. Like there's a Star Trek Planet of the Apes crossover. There's a Star Trek Legion of Superheroes crossover, which was actually really good. There's a Star Trek Green Lantern crossover, which is excellent. If you have not read the Star Trek Green Lantern crossovers, those are actually really good. Like really good. I really love the Star Trek Green Lantern crossover. Star Trek X-Men crossovers are also good. There's a whole Star Trek X-Men novel that's great. So yeah, Star Trek has had some weird crossovers that have all generally been pretty good, actually. Like, I don't think there's anyone that was, like, I've read pretty much all of the Star Trek comics. Like, I've read almost, like, 75-80% of Star Trek comics. And I know that's saying a lot. I have 3 shelves just of Star Trek comics. Every one of the crossovers I read have been pretty good. The Doctor Who one being a highlight. I do need a life, Khadija. I definitely do. Let's see. Catching up on some super chats here. Disc graphic programmer, heart to you. You said Star Trek Strange Worlds is just fun, and I don't need it to be more, but it keeps delivering more. Yeah, exactly. It is just fun. It's a fun 45 minutes. And again, as much as I love Discovery and all the others, like, it's just nice to see a show that's just like, oh yeah, 45-minute story in and out. A lot of people saying it's the best Star Trek. Modern Star Trek, I still think Lower Decks is up there for me. I might even debatably put Prodigy above Strange New Worlds, but we'll see how it's early days. But I love all of them. Every single one. I think Picard is the only current Star Trek show that I have more mixed feelings on. I am positive on all of them. Picard is literally the only one that I have mixed feelings on. Even that one I find stuff to love in. So, but Lower Decks I think is still my personal favorite. But I think, to be fair, while Lower Decks is a personal favorite of mine, I will be honest, and I will argue that it is one of the best Star Trek shows. But in terms of putting it as, like, the favorite, I know that's a little bit of personal preference. Because I certainly like comedy stuff. Like, knowing my background and loving comedy and that sort of stuff, I will say that there is a little bit of, like, my personal preference of putting Lower Decks higher than Strange New Worlds. But that's all of our favorites, right? All of us have, like, preferences in there. So, but I do think Lower Decks is top-tier Trek, even regardless of my own personal preference on it, so. Infestation, that's what it was. Thank you, Kira. That's the big, weird Star Trek crossover that I was talking about. Yeah, that's the zombie one that I was talking about. Punk Rock Zoologist, good to see you, my friend. Heart to you. You said, so happy with Strange New World so far. Love the commentary on the Federation's genetic engineering ban last week. Excited to see where it goes. Yes! Without spoiling too much, I loved that. I said this in my review of that episode. How do I say this without spoiling? Because I don't want to spoil it for people. The thing that I loved most about last week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds is there's a moment with Pike near the end of the episode. And I watched it and I was like, oh, I get what they're doing, but I have this problem with it. I have this criticism of what Pike just said. And it's something that I could have, like, prior Star Treks have done that same thing and, like, just left it there. And I was like, I get what they're going for and I like the message, but it does have this undertone that I really dislike. And then the immediate next scene, Una goes into her quarters and gives a log that talks about that exact problem that I had with Pike's speech, and, like, actually critically states it about her feeling uncomfortable with that exact aspect that I was uncomfortable with. And I was like, this show gets it. The show gets it. And one of the things, and we'll see how the rest of the season goes, but if the rest of the season keeps going this way, I think one of the things that I'm going to talk about in my review of the season as a whole is how a lot of people are like, this show is just doing like Star Trek, like the original series stuff. But I actually think it's being a little bit subversive, like very subtly so. Like the very first episode of the show, for example, is Pike literally like ignoring the Prime Directive, just saying screw it. And every episode so far has done a Star Trek episode, but then a little bit of a tweak to it. And a little bit of a critical analysis of it. In a way that feels very modern, but not in a way that feels like it's definitely like, we're going to deconstruct all of Star Trek. But just a little bit of like hey, let's nudge this a little bit that way. And so I really just appreciate Strange New Worlds for that. And I don't think a lot of people have noticed it a lot yet so far in terms of like the overriding discourse on the show. But certainly in my review of the series, when I talk about it, maybe other people will too. I'm not going to say like I'm some smarter person than everybody else, but it's just something that I'm resonating with and noticing, and that I'm like really appreciating the show for. So exactly, very excited to talk about that. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. But so far in these first 4 episodes, it has definitely done that. So. Heart to you, John. Heart to you. You said, by the way, Manhunt was partially inspired by the Screwfly solution. I did not know that. Manhunt, obviously, being the book I talked about earlier this week with the J.K. Rowling video, which, by the way, if you haven't watched it, thank you so much for everybody for making that video one of my best videos I've had over the past few months. Like, I'm very, very pleased with the performance of that video, and I'm glad that it's, of all the videos that I've done, I'm glad it was that video that's doing well, because that one was tough to make, for obvious reasons. If you've seen the video, you know why that video was rough. So I'm pleased that work is doing well in the algorithm. So huzzah. Let's see. Love Discovery as well, even though it usually gives me 1 to 2 eye rolls per episode. Yeah. I mean, doesn't every Star Trek have that though, to some degree? Like there's an episode of Next Generation in the original series where my eyes go back in my head sometimes. And honestly, to be frank with you about Star Trek, part of the reason that I love Star Trek so much is that it isn't perfect. That it is sometimes weird and off-putting and gets it wrong sometimes, because Star Trek enables us to have conversations. Unlike other TV shows where like you watch it and it's done. And it's just like, oh, I watched that, it's over with, and there's not like a generated conversation around the show. Like even some of the best, like I love The Expanse. I adore The Expanse. I think there's so much you can talk about with The Expanse. But there's not like an ongoing conversation about that show in the same way that there is about like Star Trek or Star Wars or Marvel. And so what I love that Star Trek does is it takes these conversations that we have about these big franchises that you don't necessarily get with like smaller shows like The Expanse, but then allows us to have these conversations about representation, about important subjects, about marginalization, dehumanization. It allows us to have these conversations in this pop culture way. And I don't think that Star Trek has always gotten it perfect. In fact, it's failed very, very hard sometimes, but it always makes us have the conversation. And so to have a conversation that is critical of Star Trek, not holding up as perfect, but is critical of it, yet uses it as a way to enable that conversation, I think is what is beautiful about the franchise. And this is something I make very clear in the second Star Trek video that I have coming out, that 5-hour opus that I have coming out, dear God. One of the points that I make in it is like, Next Generation fucked up a lot in some of its depictions of certain things. Like, really badly in some cases. And yet, I am 30, 40 years after that show came out, still able to use those episodes, even where it messed up, to have conversations about it. And it's not a show that says, oh, don't have those conversations, as much as some toxic fans would want you to not. It's a show that says, have that conversation. Have the conversation about this. And that's not to let it off the hook for where it's done harm. Like, Code of Honor should be called out for, like, being a racist piece of shit episode. But we can have a conversation about it. And that's what I really love about Star Trek so much, is that it always enables the conversation. Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Prodigy, Picard. Even amongst, like, Picard is a show that I do not like that much. But it still enables conversations about dehumanization, about systemic prejudices, about victimization, about how political stuff like Brent Spiner's character in Picard season 2 was about like Elon Musk, essentially, like an Elon Musk-esque figure. So like it still enables these conversations, and I really love that so much. So that's really why I like it. Like even the worst Star Trek still enables conversation, and I always appreciate that for it. Mr. Krabs, heart to you. You said, hey, Jesse, have you read the 3 current Rocco Modern Life comics? All of them are pretty hilarious and very progressive with social satire and capitalism and right-wing and more. No, I actually haven't watched... Honestly, I watched a bunch of Rocco's Modern Life as a kid, but I didn't watch a bunch of it that much, and I've never read the comics. I did watch the new movie that they put out, like the hour-long special they put out like 2 or 3 years ago, something like that, that had the trans character in it, and I thought they handled it really, really well. Like that character, and then just the commentary overall they had about like reboots and how people have like used reboots for their own agendas and things like that. I thought it was a really good one. I need to get more into Rocco's Modern Life because I've not watched a bunch of it, and I remember only vague, fleeting memories of it from when I was a kid. But everything I've seen of it is like, oh wow, this show is actually pretty political for a kid show. I really liked it. Jesse, you should check out Alison Prager. She is hilarious and occasionally critiques certain episodes in Star Trek TOS, Voyager, Deep Space Nine. It's all fun and funny. No, she's great. I've actually watched a bunch of her stuff. Her videos on like Sub Rosa and Star Trek and Tuvix and things, she's great. If you have not seen Alison's videos, go check them out because they are hilarious. I think she just released today a video on Quantum Leap that I have not watched yet, but I have in my queue. I'm very excited to watch it. So yeah, she's great. You should totally watch her. Russell, heart to you. You said, hey there, scale of hype to why do they keep going? How are you feeling about the new Stranger Things? My feeling on Stranger Things is I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not really hyped for it. Being honest with you, I liked but not loved Stranger Things since season 2. Like Stranger Things season 1 I think was actually pretty good. It didn't knock my socks up, but I really thought it was a really good show. But then seasons 2 and 3 I was like, these are good. It's not great. Not knocking me up. I like some of the like darker aspects of stuff, like the mind flare and all that stuff. I thought was all really cool. But sometimes the show got a little bit long, and it kind of had that Netflix problem of pacing, where it's like too many episodes and I'm kind of getting bored and I'm just like, get to the freaking point. So in a lot of 80s nostalgia that like, I don't hate 80s nostalgia, obviously, but I'm not so obsessed with it and need it. So I like Stranger Things. I don't love it. And as for season 4, I'm excited for it. They seem to be putting a lot of stuff into it, and the reviews have been solid. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited, but I'm not like, oh my god, Stranger Things, yes. Looking forward to it, but not like super pumped. Maybe, but I am always open to be proven wrong. Maybe I'll watch season 4 like, this is the best damn thing ever. So I'm hoping for that. We'll see. But as of right now, I'm like, it'll probably be good. I'll probably enjoy it. But will I think it's the best coming of sliced bread? You know what I mean. Best thing since sliced bread. Probably not. But we'll see. We'll see. I did not like season 3, but yeah, Hopper was kind of in season 3. But what are you gonna do? Please, what do you think about the Morbius, Masterpiece Morbius? Have not seen Morbius yet. I will watch it at some point, but because I want to watch all of those stuff. But yeah, not super looking forward to Morbius. I'm honestly more fascinated by Morbius in terms of like what they're gonna do with it afterwards, like fitting in with like the Sony Spider-Man stuff and like the Venom movies. I'm actually more curious about Morbius in that sense, as like a piece in Sony's weird Spider-Man chessboard than I am in the movie of itself. I am sad though that Matt Smith gets sidelined. I heard that Jared Harris and Matt Smith are both in that movie, and it sounds like they don't get a lot of like time to shine, which is sad because both Jared Harris and Matt Smith are fan-freaking-tastic actors. Love them both. So sad they're stuck in that movie. That being said, it is 7 o'clock. I am getting very hungry because I have not eaten yet. So I am going to probably head out and bid you all adieu, and say good evening for now. So a couple announcements. Let's see, announcements of stuff coming up before I say goodbye to everybody. Anything. No video tomorrow. My James Gunn video will be going up in 2 weeks. So not this Friday, not the Friday after next, the Friday after that. So that's the next big video that's going to be coming. And then my section Star Trek will be coming out at the end of the month of June. So big videos next. So not much left in this month, but June I'm going to have 2 big videos. My James Gunn video, which I'm very excited for as well. I keep talking about section Star Trek, but you'll also be just as excited for my James Gunn video because it's 2.5 hours long as well. And I put a lot of work into that one too. So be looking for my James Gunn video, my second Star Trek video. Those will be coming. My Sense8 video will be coming out when the copyright claims things come off of it. So you'll be getting 3 videos in the nearest future, but nothing tomorrow. So Sense8, section Star Trek, James Gunn, all coming within the next month. Sense8's just a little one-off video that was like 10 minutes long, and I think it was just a nice, sweet one. Any other things? I will probably be doing a stream tomorrow. There are 3 more streams before my surgery, and then I'm going to be taking a month off. Like, you'll still be getting those James Gunn and Sex and Star Trek videos, but starting after my surgery on June 7th, I'm going to be taking a break from streaming and also from making videos, so there'll probably be a little bit of time between the end of June and the next video, so probably towards the end of July will be the next video after that. But we'll talk about that when we get to June. But I am going to be taking a streaming break. So streaming this Saturday, streaming next week, and then after that I will be taking a little bit of a break. So I'll see you Saturday for Ocarina of Time. We're going to be playing more of that. And then I'm not going to be on any streams or anything, I think, this weekend. Yeah, that's just really it. Be on the lookout for the Sense8 video. James Gunn video coming soon. Sex and Star Trek coming soon. I'll be streaming this weekend. That's pretty much it. Nothing else super special. So, mwah. I love you all. I will bid you all a wonderful evening. Good night, Moonflower Gal. Good night, B. Parker. Good night, Lewis Darden. Good night, Lily. Good night, Dawn. Good night, Symbolic. Good night, Adam. Good night, J-Man. Good night, Selkie. All of you, mwah, 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 mwah. I will see you all on Saturday for more Ocarina of Time. And until then, you are all lovely. Take care of yourselves, please. Very seriously. It is rough right now. The world is hard, so please take care of yourselves. Always remember that you are beautiful and loved, and to try as best as you can, and I know I fail at this a lot too, to try and stay positive, to keep fighting, to have hope for the future, because the future can still be bright. We just need to fight for it and remember that human connection and community and caring about each other is what will make that future happen. If we believe that the best way to make humanity's best future, the only way to make humanity's best future is to believe in the life and love of others. That's the only way that we can make that future. Keep that in mind, hold that in your heart, and use it to help power through some of the hard times that we have ahead and that we're going through right now. So, love you, my friends.